What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining me on yet another episode for Walking Manifestator. I am your host, Alexa Benya, and I am super excited to be here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to embark on this journey of personal self-development. Now, in this podcast, we really just talk about everything related to helping you embody your truest and highest self, whatever that might mean to you. Now, in today's episode, I want to talk about mental resilience in uncertain times. I have 4 key fundamentals that have really helped me in my journey. And if you don't know my story by now, I essentially, was raised in a situation where it was not the most ideal environment for some people when you want to compare things, right? But through all of that adversity, I was able to really grow into what I see now as becoming the best version of myself. And I just want to share with you tactical approaches to manifesting the life of your dreams. So all of these things are going to drive inspiration from things that I've read, that I've learned. In the past 2 years, I've just emerged myself with as much knowledge as I possibly can to better understand myself. Therefore, by becoming a better version of me, I am able to affect those around me. And that is my goal for you. Okay. If there's anything that you take from this, I hope that it's just to continue to aspire to be a better version of you. And this is where mental resilience really plays a huge factor. Also, quick side note, I recently launched my new app for Walking Manifestator, the community. I'm super excited about that. I know a lot of you guys have been reaching out and asking just for more content, more things that we could possibly give you to implement. In this community, we have a bunch of free trainings. We do have some paid versions for some of our clients that are actually looking for more one-on-one coaching. But again, with that being said, we have a bunch of free information. So if that's something that you're interested in, we'll leave the link down below so that you can go and check that out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive deep into our episode today with mental resilience in uncertain times. Now, the first thing I want to talk to you about is understanding mental resilience by cultivating a positive mind. Here's the thing, guys. In life, we're always going to have things that are going to be happening around us. I mentioned this in the last episode where our responsibility is simply our responsibility to how we react to situations. There's always going to be things that are happening in our external environment. And this is why it's so important to really cultivate a state of abundance internally in order for you to really experience that externally. And the best way I can explain this to you, right, is let's say you're looking for your ideal mate. Maybe you already have them. And if that's the case, great. Try and fill in the blank for maybe another example that might work for you. But let's say you're already in a situation where either you're looking for your ideal mate or you still haven't found your ideal mate, or you already probably are in a relationship, but you're maybe not necessarily in alignment with this person. Okay. So let's just say that you in a person seek for somebody that is truly invested in personal development, truly wants to become, a higher and better version of themselves. They are funny, they are beautiful, they are courageous. Continue to fill in the blanks. You follow. Now, a lot of the times people expect this out of others, yet how can you attract that into your life if you are not what you seek in somebody else? And this is something that if you really resonate with this message, it's going to really hit home because I know that's what I used to do. I wanted somebody that could do X, Y, and Z in my life, but yet I wasn't doing those things for myself. And if you cannot do those things for yourself, how can you expect anybody else externally to identify with you? Right? There's so many people out there that they're unhappy and they feel like they're never going to find true love. They're never going to find abundance. They're never going to find the ideal situation in their work environment. But yet they haven't asked themselves, how can I invest in me? How can I become a better version of myself? And this is something that once you start asking yourself this question versus asking, how can I gain this from somebody else? You ask yourself, how can I become this version of me in order for somebody else to be attracted to me that is in alignment with what I am seeking for? You see, in life, you're going to find yourself dating or experiencing situations that are going to really make you understand what you are actually in alignment with, what you're interested in, and what you're not interested in, right? But the thing is that if you haven't raised your standards, if you haven't learned to really cultivate a abundant mindset, and again, I want to be very clear about this, abundance does not necessarily have to mean monetary perspectives, okay? It doesn't have to mean money. It can actually mean a variety of things. There is this quote that I'm going to share with you guys. It says, abundance is simply the ability to do what we need to do when we need to do it. This is something that I can personally identify with tremendously because in my journey through manifestation, I have found that every single time that I detach from the outcome of how I want things to happen, things magically just start falling into alignment in the most poetic way, right? So I'll give you an example. I recently, as I was mentioning, launched the app, and I was very focused on just what my end result was going to be because I wanted to give back. I wanted to help more people, that I wasn't worried about how it was going to happen as far as, getting all the courses ready, getting all the information ready and launch, getting the developers to approve everything. I was just concerned with the fact that it was going to happen. And I know this can be like a silly example now because, in a day-to-day activity that we have going on, sometimes we get so consumed by things that are happening around us that we forget to really appreciate the things that we have that are happening for us. And a lot of the times, what we end up putting ourselves through is a situation of lack. And therefore, all we're inviting into our environment is more lack. A lot of the times people want for that ideal person to come into their life, as we were explaining earlier, but yet you haven't become that ideal person, right? So when we're talking about abundance, when it says abundance is simply the ability to do what we need to do when we need to do it, this is in alignment with taking inspired action. Because if you believe that the only way the universe, God, source, all of the above can give you a life of abundance, right, then would be through a tool of money, you're already limiting yourself to all the other ways and paths that you can receive abundance. Abundance can be through health as well. Abundance could be through experiences. Abundance could be through a new job opportunity that's going to allow you to be in alignment with what you really want. So by you being open to this positive mindset, it's really going to help you in this resilience of hard times and uncertain times, because now you understand that no matter where you're at in the current, there's always going to be a way to go back up. That's just the yin and the yang. That's just the way that the law of polarity works. Okay. Now, 2 is going to be your adaptability to overall that resilience that we're talking about in your mindset. So adaptability to me personally means that you're willing to gain perspective from whatever you're going through. So if you just had your heart broken, and I keep using the examples of like relationships and money because for most of us, that's what we identify with as being part of our life, right? We need relationships in terms of whatever that might be to you. And it doesn't have to be a actual partner for love. It can be, a business partner. It can be your relationship with your kids, with your family, a variety, right? Culmination of relationships can apply to that. And from the money standpoint, most of us know that in order for us to provide a certain quality of lifestyle and actually be able to give back to the community, and most times you can benefit from that tool, right? So I just want to be very clear about that. But your ability to really have that adaptability is going to come from understanding that everything you're going through is simply that, something you are going through. And if you can really start wrapping your head around the fact that in that situation, whatever is manifesting into your existence is trying to show you something. It's trying to teach you a lesson. And the only times that you're going to continue to fall in that same exact path is if you have not learned anything from that experience. And this is something that the more you allow yourself to get into your energy, the more that you allow yourself to really identify where these blocks are coming from. We talked about it in one of our episodes. If you haven't checked that one out, the paradigm, right? Understanding your paradigm, which is basically things that have happened in your life. If you do not understand that the things that you went through impacted the way that you now react to the world, you are forever going to play the victim mentality. So this is something extremely important in this journey for you to really understand that adaptability to how the universe is allowing things to manifest is in your best interest versus being so set on how you want them to happen. That's not ideal. And the more that you get so consumed and stuck on how you want things to happen, the more you're pushing that manifestation from actually coming into fruition because you're so consumed with the outcome. You're so consumed with how it's going to happen that subconsciously what you're doing is you're furthering that goal out into this abyss because you're so consumed with it that you're still not learning anything from that situation. Now, number 3 is going to be really to understand stress management. Now, that to me personally, I know what that feels like because at the beginning, when I was really embarking my journey, I found myself going through situations that would really piss me off. Like, that's the bottom line. They would really upset me and I wanted to react. And I had always used this like concept behind that's just who I am. I didn't have a mom and a dad, so that's just who I am. I, was bullied, so that's just how I am. I didn't have money, so that's just how I am. We went through struggles, so that's just how I am. All of those beliefs were embedded in my brain, in my subconscious brain, that I wasn't really stopping and thinking like, where is this coming from? Like, why do I believe that's just how I am? Why am I not becoming aware of it in order for me to try and change that pattern? Because it's not really being conducive to myself, right? It's really self-destructive, if that. So what really helped me understand, yes, we can sit here and talk about take your breathing work experience very seriously, make sure you're meditating, make sure that you're breathing, make sure that you're taking time for yourself. And those things are super important. If you guys are interested in another episode just talking about self-care in general, we can definitely do that. We can talk about some techniques that you can apply for that. But in this specific technique, as far as the actual stress management, I want you to just become aware of where that block is coming from. Okay. This is the reason why so many people pay, psychologists years and years and years and years to basically hear them and basically vent with them like, well, it's because I was abused when I was little. Oh, well, because I was neglected when I was little. Oh, it's because X, Y, and Z. And look, I've been through my fair share of turbulence, so I know it's not easy. However, changing the narrative in your mind about how that story played out is so pivotal for your change. You're not hurting those people. You're hurting yourself. That's the bottom line. So until you don't identify where that block is coming from, you're going to continue to be miserable. You're going to continue to be unhappy and make all of those people around you unhappy. And this comes hand in hand with your overall tolerance, with your standards, because if you have people in your life that are just constantly taking and taking and taking, and you feel the need to have this like external shell in order for them to not take advantage of you, and this is the case with everything around you, then I really want to encourage you to ask yourself, like, what are you doing in that position? You see, a lot of people they rather be fake. They rather hang out with people that they're not actually happy with than to stand up for themselves. You see it now time and time again, especially the younger generation. I'm 27. I will forever consider myself young. But the reality is that, especially the younger generation, my about to be 8-year-old, sometimes I am amazed by some of the things that he shares with me that are going on, or some of the things that he's learning. And I'm like, where'd you hear that? He's like, oh, from school. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it's really a completely different environment from when I was 8 years old. Yeah, granted, I was already, raising my brother at 8 years old, but that was because of personal situations that had happened in my life. But that's not everybody, right? Like, a lot of people actually get to enjoy their childhood. And I feel like a lot of the times, if we don't realize where these situations are happening that are impacting us and we don't do anything about it, and we continue to hang out with those people that are not being conducive to our environment, that are not being conducive to our mental, physical, and spiritual health, and you just continue to put yourself in that situation, like, what are you doing? I saw this post not too long ago by this person, and I was just observing, because you should not, we all judge. Okay, here's the bottom line. Like, we all judge, but the part that you need to understand, at least this is how I've learned to understand it, is that you cannot label them as wrong or right just based off your judgment, because your perspective is your perspective. That doesn't mean that they share the same perspective with you. And I think this is a part where people always believe we're going to have to be in this like constant conflict, because they're not being open to understanding the other person's perspective. They believe that their way is the only way. And that's where now you're judging, right? You're judging it to the point where you're saying, no, you're wrong and I'm right, and end of story, versus you're judging it because you don't agree with that perspective, but yet you're understanding it. There's a key difference there. So this person was sharing something that I was, again, analyzing there. And I'm using the word analyzing to just make sure I'm not losing you guys. But basically, they were saying how every single relationship is going to continue to be the exact same relationship, because they just believe that that's just what is out there, right? They believe that all women are the same. And I found that quite interesting, because that speaks more about his standards and his values and his morals. And this could be applied to a girl too. Okay. So we're not getting into this whole like, oh, you're saying this because it's a guy. No, it could be for girls too. Okay. So let's be very clear. I'm just sharing the story of what happened in that moment. But because of his mindset, right? He is so stuck on the fact that everybody that he dates, everybody that he comes into contact with is going to be the exact same way as that ex person that he, went in a relationship with. But the reality is that until you learn to actually like analyze, where is this internal block coming from? Where is this anger coming from? Where is this belief coming from? Oh, okay. Well, because when I was younger, I dated people this way, and now I'm in a relationship where, once again, I'm with my type and it's not working out. It's like, interesting. Maybe what we should try and do is, instead of dating somebody else again, maybe work on ourselves so that we can see if we are being the best judge for who we want in our energy, and therefore attracting somebody that won't be your type, but actually somebody that you can consider your life partner for. Some food for thought. Okay. So this is super important in your mental resilience, because if you can understand that, you just need to identify where this block is coming from. That's the bottom line. You're human and you're going to get upset, but reacting to those situations is what is going to kill you. Literally, little by little, it's going to start affecting your body. And the more that you become aware of these things, the more you become aware of these triggers, then the more you're going to be able to work on them and become aware of them, and understand that you've given your ego such a hard task. Like, your ego is one part of the equation, and your ego is basically consuming what it believes to be good for you and what it believes to not be good for you. And you're completely disregarding your higher self. That little voice that sometimes tells you to rise to the occasion. And then that other little voice that comes in and like, no, but how are you going to let that go? What a shame. Like, you're basically letting them walk all over you. And it's like, no, actually, I'm choosing the highway because I'm not willing to exert my energy into something that is not worth it. So this is super important in just understanding yourself better and really breaking free from that stress that constantly arises because you haven't really identified where that block is coming from. Okay. So the last one I want to leave you with is going to be really 2-in-1, and that's the power of connection and learning the adversity. So the power of connection is super important because you want to find like-minded individuals. Okay. You want to find a community of people that are really going to just push you forward. Like, I don't know if I believe I shared this in one of my last episodes, but I'm on this journey to get my first TEDx talk. Right. And it was crazy because as I shared it with some people, you could see like I don't want to label it as envy, but that's what it is, right? That there's people around you that sometimes they're not really rooting for you. They just kind of want to tear you down because they are unhappy with their own life. And I've learned before I used to like get really mad about that. Now I just observe it and I actually like in my mind, I surround them in this bubble of love. I genuinely wish them love because they just don't understand that I am them and they are me and we are all one, right? We've talked about it, the law of oneness. So when that happens, I just kind of like, it bums you out. Don't get me wrong. It bums you out because when you get at this state of just like wanting the best for yourself, you can't help but want the best for somebody else. Like good or bad, whatever they've done to you, you actually do. And I know that it can take a while to get there, especially like when we have situations with our family, personal, emotional, physical abuse. Like I totally get that, but it's a constant practice. It's a muscle. You're working that out. So when that happened and I was sharing that story, I could see like the way that they reacted to it. And I was like, oh, okay, like just kind of let it go. And then I made friends with this girl. Shout out to you, Jody, if you're listening to this podcast. But she's amazing. Like she's a badass. And basically we're talking about just, our journey. She's a cancer survivor and she's just amazing. And she was just so encouraging. And I've literally known this person for less than a year. Like I'm telling you, like months. Like I met her around like October, November of last year. And she's shown more support than some of those people that I've had in my life for such a long time. And that's the importance of community. When you start working on yourself, you're going to start attracting more people that are going to be in alignment. This is why they call it your tribe, right? Your people. And this is the thing, like if you continue to hang out with people that are not really being conducive, am I saying go and drop all your friends? No, but you can show them by example. The next time that they say, hey, look at what so-and-so did, you maybe change the conversation. You're like, you know what? I really don't want to exert my energy like talking about this person. Like, so what are you planning on doing this weekend? Like, what do you want to do? Right? Changing that narrative is going to be so important to show these people that you have around you that you actually have an influence on to choose a highway. And that's where mental resilience really comes into play because now you're choosing a different mechanism versus like tearing other people down. Did you know that like when you make fun of other people, like it's just a coping mechanism? There's something internally within you that you feel insecure about. Like I've always been really bad at jokes. And it's funny because like I remember that the reason for that was really because like for me personally, when I was bullied when I was younger, I couldn't like defend myself in terms of like just using like language, right? Like I wasn't that funny. And I exerted my emotion by now defending myself in a different way, right? I reacted a different way. And although a lot of people, they continue to use that coping mechanism for the rest of their life, and some people think it's, funny, and we, basically go to comedy shows to have a good laugh. That's fine and all, but not at the expense of other people that are actually genuinely being hurt by it. And I think that when you start learning to be in a good community, like you actually end up making more fun of yourself than others. And you're just like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I did that. The human in me, right? So just gaining that connection with yourself is really going to help you better find your right people. And this is why the power of connection and really learning through adversity, embracing that situation that you went through, embracing whatever experience you had to learn from that. That is going to really allow you to be in alignment with a better version of yourself in order for whatever situation you end up going through, again, keyword going through, you are able to really understand that there's just a lesson to be learned there. That's all. There's something you need to learn in order for you to grow from that situation. And until you learn from it, you're going to keep doing it over and over again because you didn't learn your lesson. So with that being said, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I have a quote that I want to share with you as well, and that's where you are doesn't define who you are. I want to say that again. Where you are doesn't define who you are. And this is the importance of just personally every single day taking time to better understand yourself, to better see where your triggers are coming from and become aware of them and gradually work on them and work on them and work on them until you essentially awaken that highest version of yourself, right? That embraces and embodies that truer version of you. So with that being said, remember to visualize, embody, and transcend. Be the walking manifestator you are born to be. Thank you so much for giving me your time today. I genuinely appreciate it. I hope to hear more from you guys in the community. And with that being said, I'm sending you much love.